Okay, so 5 years ago or so, we were looking to design a worm farm that wasn't plastic, and we created these, and we've been using them in various places ever since. It's Macrocarpa 12x1. The sides are 35 centimetres long with 2 bits of 2x2 in the corners, which stick up above the sides so that they fit into the next one above it. So we've got plastic on the first layer with a hole in the middle for the liquid to run out. Then we've got netting on top, which is acting as just a layer of strength to hold the weed mat, which will go on top of that. And the whole thing is erected on top of a frame, which is built to hold a 10 or 20 litre bucket underneath it. So there's your bottom layer, and then we've got the weed mat on top of that, which holds the weight of the vermicast and the worms above it. So the wire essentially holds that, and the weed mat strains it, and the plastic directs all the liquid into one place to go into the bucket. Then we put 3 more layers on top, and into that we place the substrate from the soldier fly farm, which is the 5% the soldier fly don't like eating, and the worms are very good at digesting that, and from there we manage the worms. Okay, so here we are in the Urban Garden greenhouse where we've set our worm farm up, and so the different bits of it, you can see the stand, which was designed to hold a 10 litre bucket or maybe a 20 litre bucket depending on its shape underneath, so we can collect the vermi liquid. We've just sent a sample of that vermi liquid off to have a reams test done on it, so we actually know what's in it and we can know how we can use it in the garden to get used to how we can use it. The worm farm itself had the content from the soldier fly farm at the end of last season, like the 5% that the soldier fly can't digest is ideal food for worms, so tiger worms. So we put that in here, and it's right now it's absolutely loaded with microbes. It's full of life. There's all kinds of critters in here, the critters that kind of digest the food before the worms. And somewhere down in here we have the worms just beginning to, here we are. The worms are just beginning to get really active, and there's lots of breeding going on. So in another 6 weeks or so, this will be full of, there are more over here. This will be full of worms, and then we'll be able to easily manage it by taking the top. As this fills up, we'll keep feeding it with kitchen scraps or the waste from the soldier fly farm or whatever we've got in the urban garden, animal manure, guinea pig waste or manure. As it fills up to the top, then we take the top one off, put it aside, and all the contents into a big bucket, and then we empty all the vermicast out one layer at a time, use that, and then just start it again. It's a really easy system, and you can fit it into a really small space. Feels a lot better than a plastic system. Yeah, and it works. They work really well. Just have to keep it moist. I'd say the only real management issue is with, just like it is with any worm farm, is learning how much food to put in there, how often in relationship to how many worms are there, so that you keep the worms really active, but you don't put far too much food in, which turns it into a compost heap and it gets too hot. So getting the food quantities right, which is a bit of an art in the beginning especially, and keeping the moisture levels. The whole thing has to be moist out to the edges, and in a greenhouse this gets pretty warm in here. It tends to dry out faster than it would if it was an outside worm farm. But because it's in a greenhouse, the worms will stay active. Once we get this up and humming, it'll go all through the winter next winter. It's warm enough in here all winter for the worms to stay active. So yeah, we're just at the stage where all that stuff's full of microbes. The worms are breeding and active. In the next 6 weeks we'll see a lot more progress, and then we'll be able to start putting a lot more feed in.